Hello, I'm your host Jim McLean. Welcome back to the latest episode of the BanterFlix movie review show here on NvTv. Tonight in the studio, I'm joined by Adam Neeson.
Evening, Jim.
And Joanne Alexander.
Hi, Jim.
Hello to you both, guys. We have a packed show, so let's see what we'll be discussing this week. Joanne will be chatting about her experience at this year's Monopoly Comic Con at the Econ Centre. I'll be chatting with Claire Shaw from Cinemagic about this year's festival. We'll be reviewing the Nun II, which is out in cinemas now. And we'll be chatting about Tim Burton's Batman, which is back on the big screen to celebrate Batman Day. So that's what we've lined up for you this week. And as I said in the little introduction, Joanne, you were at the Comic Con, Monopoly's Comic Con at the Econ Centre over the weekend. This is your opportunity. You were there as a special guest. How did you get on?
It was great. I was actually one of the cosplay guest judges, and the cosplays were phenomenal. The standard was extremely high, and it was so difficult for myself and the other judges to actually come through in the end and say, right, that's the definitive one. The locals did us really proud. As for the show itself, by gum, it was warm. It was really, really warm. Bunged, packed, because Monopoly put on a hell of a show. They have top-class guests. I mean, Elijah Woods was one of those. I mean, who'd have ever thought you'd see him in Northern Ireland? And there was many others, even to the two from The Shining, the original twins, which I thought was kind of unusual. So there were panels on the Saturday and the Sunday where you could actually see the guests. So say you didn't get a signed photograph or have a selfie with them or a photograph, at least you were able to, they had the opportunity to still see them, as well as they were actually in the hall as well. John Barrowman's was the only one that I caught, and he was hilarious. He had a big sparkly TARDIS dress on, which was amazing, and then he threw it off and he had another TARDIS thing on underneath, and these knee-high boots.
Well, I just want to say it here now for everyone watching at home. You know, John borrowed the costume off me. I'm happy to lend it, John. Just give me a bit of credit now and again. Adam, I know you cosplay. You didn't go to the Comic Con. We're not going to mark you down any points here, but generally the fact that we now have, for the first time in a while, and I know that Monopoly were here last year. We've had cons before. There is the like of QCon. We should give a shout out as well. But how good is it to see this standard of a con now coming back to Northern Ireland, not just for the first time, but returning, and I think they've already announced they're going to be back again next year.
I think us as Northern Irish people got very lucky with the weather, because I think that is a factor in celebrities wanting to come back over here. You know, if it's a nice day, everybody's happy, everybody's cheerful, they're more likely to come back. And like Joanna said, like everybody was fantastic and everybody loved it from what I've heard from them. And it's just a great atmosphere. And if, Northern Irish people show a lot of love, and I've seen that on their social medias, like Elijah Wood says he loved it. They went to the Titanic Museum and had a look around. So everybody seemed to have great fun. It's a shame I missed it. I will go next year. But maybe not in cosplay, maybe just shorts if it's the same nice weather.
But I actually just should add as well, we do have another comic convention over here, and that's the Enniskillen Comic Con that we went to this year too. So we have a variety of predominantly film and media based events now, and a comic convention itself.
That is very true. You and I were down in Enniskillen earlier this year. That's been going for a long time as well. Joanne, just before we move on, just for yourself, as someone who's involved, you've judged cosplay in very sweaty, warm conditions over the weekend. Generally, how important do you think it is to have these type of cons? You've already mentioned Enniskillen, I know, but for the likes of Monopoly, to have that scale of an event here in Northern Ireland, returning again, as I've said, they've announced they're going to be back again next year, to have that scale of a con on a regular basis here in Northern Ireland.
Very important. I think they've eclipsed the conventions that were of that type that were here before. MCM, Belfast Film and Comic Con, they're definitely a step above what had been there. I think it's because they've been willing to invest the time and the money actually to bring the guests over. People are extremely excited. I think we've been so starved of that type of attention over the years that anything at all gets us very excited. And to see this is hugely important to us. And I think it's a good thing for Northern Ireland, because I think it'll actually bring in visitors as well, just for the convention alone.
Yeah, very true. Now, that is an event that has just been. Over the weekend, I also got to attend the launch of this year's Cinemagic Film Festival. It's going to be returning to venues across Belfast from later this month. And I was down at the QFT for the launch event, and I also got a chance shortly, a few days afterwards, to talk to the lovely Claire Shaw from Cinemagic about what we can expect from this year's festival. Claire, hello to you. I know you're pushed for time. You are very busy with the preparations for the festival, but tonight we've got you here. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what we can expect from this year's Cinemagic programme?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. Yes, so this year is the 34th Cinemagic Festival. We are opening on the 30th of September this year, running right through to the 31st of October. So there is a full month of festivities to get involved in. We open this year actually with our masterclasses in low budget feature filmmaking and also comedy producing. So that is just like a flavour of the masterclasses we have that are for young people who really want to hone their craft in different areas. And there's also a really special interactive theatre show around the movement. So something really nice that sort of encompasses media, film, TV. So there is a huge amount going on right through to talent labs, right through to our young filmmaker competition. And we're actually welcoming back quite a lot of Cinemagic alumni for those young filmmaker classes. So William McGregor, who's been through Cinemagic, who is an accomplished filmmaker, Kathy Brady, who's known for Wildfire, an animator called Johnny Schumann, who works in Flickr Pics here. I think 18, 19 years ago, he won Cinemagic Young Filmmaker. So we're bringing back a lot of people who've come through Cinemagic, through the ranks, to inspire the sort of rising stars of filmmaking. And over that weekend, which is actually the last weekend of the festival, we have 150 short films being screened by the very best in like young filmmaking talent.
You must be really proud to start to see that you have played a pivotal role in developing these filmmakers, not just developing them, but now they're coming back and they are showcasing their work to local audiences, as you said earlier, to inspire a future generation.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I suppose because Cinemagic has been around, you know, for 30 plus years now, it is so lovely to see, you know, many industry professionals coming back to Cinemagic to inspire the younger generations, and many of the alumni are still very young themselves. So I actually think that that is a brilliant thing because, you know, teenagers and, you know, young filmmakers in their early 20s can relate to people who are, you know, not that much older than themselves. They can really be inspired and motivated and, you know, follow the sort of route to success that local filmmakers have sort of followed. And on that note as well, we're also delighted to welcome Ross White to Cinemagic this year. Of course, a real household name now after the triple award win for An Irish Goodbye. So, you know, that's an example of, you know, somebody who's doing so well in their field and his filmmaking team, and to really then sort of come back and, you know, explain to young filmmakers how he got involved in the industry.
So you are looking for young jury members. I believe I got a chance at the launch of the festival at the QFT last weekend to speak to one of the 8-year-old Zoe, who I do believe at some point, probably in the not too distant future, will put me out of a job. But she absolutely fab, and she kind of talked to me about how being involved has kind of made her want to learn foreign language, French and Spanish, through looking at foreign cinema. So do you want to tell our viewers now a little bit about the Young Jury programme and very briefly how people can get involved?
Yeah, well, that's really another sort of foundation stone that Cinemagic is built on. So we are very much about promoting world cinema, you know, celebrating diverse storytellers from all over the world. We want to encourage young people to, you know, watch films that are not homegrown, you know, to sort of see different perspectives on the world. And, you know, through our funding with NI Screen and Department for Communities, you know, our brief and our ethos very much is about, you know, looking at all different communities from all internationally over the world. So these films are part of our World Cinema programme. They're in competition, and we really want passionate young people to get involved, to come watch the movies, review them, critique them, and then with a view to choosing the winning films of the festival. So anyone passionate about film and seeing a whole range of diverse movies, giving your opinion, and sort of interacting with a group is so welcome to get involved. And the age groups for those go from age 5 right up to 25. So again, something for all age groups to get involved in.
So where can people find out more information? And the key aspect, let's be honest, is where can people book those tickets?
Cinemagic.org.uk is our website, and you'll find all of the information there to book tickets and get involved.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Claire. Enjoy the festival, enjoy the programme, enjoy being busy, and hopefully we'll get you on the show soon.
Thank you.
So that's my interview with Claire, and as she said, you can check out their full programme on the Cinemagic website. And I think with that, we'll move on and discuss this week's first release.
Whatever you do, whatever you hear, don't look away.
So that's a look at the Nun II. Valak is back in the habit, Adam. So this is the follow-up to one of the most successful entries within the Conjuring expanded universe beyond the main films. I wasn't a fan of the 2018 original, but Valak's back. You know, you just can't keep a bad nun down. And so are some of the original characters. The beloved Frenchie is back once again, and he's not having a good time. He's having a bad connection with Valak this time round. So I've kind of set up a bit off the plot. Generally, what did you think about this film? Directed by Michael Chavez this time round. He's done a couple other entries within the franchise. What, were you a fan of this entry?
Well, Michael Chavez, going into this, I was like, oh no, because he did The Conjuring 3, which I wasn't a big fan of, and he also did The Curse of La Llorona, which I think is just atrocious. So going into this, I was a fan of the first Nun, kinda. I seen it twice. If you're listening to the podcast, you know I have a bad habit of seeing bad movies lots of times. But going into this, I was like, it'll be fun. And to be fair, I got up at 10 o'clock in the morning. I went to the 40X at Cineworld. Me and my girlfriend, the only two people in the screen. So we had 200 seats worth of water to be dumped on us. So I was like, this is going to be good. And then when the movie starts and I was just like this the whole time, I was like, you know what? I'm ready to have fun. Was the movie good? Absolutely not. It's really a waste of time if you are a fan of the franchise, because the first movie ends with the character of Frenchie being revealed to be the first case of the Warrens, that he is possessed. That's like not the twist of the first movie, but like the reveal of like, this is how it's all connected. So when you go into this movie and it's like, Frenchie, he's acting a bit funny. And then Sister Eileen, our main character, is like, I best go off and see what's wrong with Frenchie. You're sitting there going, well, I know what's wrong with Frenchie. It's the Nun II. I know what's going to happen. So you're kind of sitting going, right, okay. And then you're like, hey, because they call him Maurice, they don't call him Frenchie. They go, do you want to know what his nickname was? Frenchie, as if it's some big reveal. And then he's just chasing people about. There's a goat monster man. and then they save the day, or do they? Who cares?
Who needs to see the film now? Adam's give a very brief and succinct synopsis. Picking up on what you said, I wasn't a huge fan of this. I enjoyed it more than the first film. I wasn't a huge fan of Corn Hardy's feature. I mean, it was dark, it was gloomy, and as Mark Kermode said in his review on 5 Live at the time, it was quiet Nun. I think this is a bit more fun than the previous installment. I did find it a bit toothless for a 15 certificate. I was really surprised by that. I really thought it was going to be a 12A because it has some pretty nasty sequences at the start and near the end. It's just that a good hour of its runtime in the middle is really dull. And for me, it went a bit Da Vinci Code-esque when they're trying to figure out, what's actually going on and how can they stop Valak from doing whatever they really want to do. That's the bit that I find really dull. My big gripe with the franchise generally within the Conjuring universe, they seem to think to themselves, what would James Wan do? Rather than letting filmmakers come in and do their own little thing and their own spark of individuality on each film. To an extent, I know we've had Annabelle Come Home, which I think has probably been my favourite of those spin-offs. But hey, we're probably going to get a Nun 3. We'll probably get more installments. It's doing well at the box office. I did enjoy it. Joanne, Adam and I have been a bit down in the film. Are you going to come in and save the day for Valak, or are you going to make it 3 for 3?
I can't believe people spent money on this. Though in saying that, I hadn't realised it was connected to the Warrens because I don't know this universe. So I kind of went in with my real sceptical head on because I don't like things like that anyway. And I wasn't disappointed. It was absolutely dreadful. The only thing I noticed about the Nun compared to the Nun 1, because I'd seen screenshots, and Nun 2 was, Nun 2 had a very nice corset on underneath. It was looking very nipped in the waist. I kind of like the special effects with the eyes, the fact that whenever something nasty went on, the nun's eyes lit up. But the whole mythology didn't work, and it was constant foreshadowing. Oh, there's going to be a bit about wine. Oh, there's eyeballs. I just thought, this is absolutely ridiculous.
There is sequences where there's stuff going on in one part of this boarding school in France, and there's other stuff happening in completely different bits of the building. Hey, I don't know the powers that demons have, but I just find it very confuddling. You've mentioned there is a little goat-esque entity that's lingering about the place at the same time and other things is happening, and I just find it a bit confuddling as into what actually is the powers of this character. Is this the same? But look, it's too much to get into, but I don't know, Adam, you're looking at me, so I don't know, are you agreeing with me, disagreeing with me? Do you think it's a problem that they don't really know what to do with this character?
Yeah, it's a real bad habit of the Conjuring universe that they have to kind of fill in a background for a character that was used for like 5 minutes in another film. Like the Annabelle movies, even though it's like a conduit for evil to come, it's almost a conduit for cameos, for people to be like, do you like that? Because we'll make a film out of that if you like it. So were they trying to make a movie of the goat man? I don't know. Even though they say it's the devil, surely the devil's more powerful than Valak. I don't know. Also,
who knows? Devil, if you're watching, tune in and let us know. I don't know.
It's even Valak's background is, they say that she takes the form of something, that you would know to try and corrupt you. But it's like, does everybody know a nun? Like, is it just because the film's called The Nun that she takes a nun form? Could she become like a Pennywise or a Freddy Krueger type that could take a form of anything? Because it would be interesting to see the lady that plays the nun in different forms. She has a great look. Famously, she was in Mulholland Drive, one of the scariest scenes in any film ever. So it would be fun to see her in different forms, not just woman in habit with spooky eyes and spooky teeth sometimes.
I agree with you. It's weird because this idea of the symbolism of the nun, it suits the first film, and it's like, okay, I get that. If you've seen the first film, you'll kind of know the mythology there and why they take the form, or why Valak takes the form of the nun. That doesn't make sense because she's already appeared as Valak in The Conjuring 2, I thought used quite well in that film, in the sense that you've got 5 minutes to do, there's a spooky nun, that'll do me. When you try and pad that out over an hour and a half, you have problems. Now, I know, Joanne, you haven't seen the first film, you've seen images and you've admired Corset of the aforementioned Valak, but I don't know, are you tempted now, if this is your first tipping your toes with the Conjuring universe, are you tempted to go and seek others? I guess with your views of the Warrens, I know the answer before I've asked, but has this tempted you to seek out other films in the series?
Definitely not. I mean, I think I am ashamed for the Dark Lord. I really am. They made the goat of Mendes look like an escaped barnyard animal. They really did. I was just disgusted with the whole thing. It was kind of amusing in some ways. It was one of those films, my goodness, this is so bad. And it's shot beautifully. Because, I mean, cinematography-wise, it was beautifully shot. Now, I have to say, I thought the lighting was nice. The actors did their best with the dreadful lines that they were given. But it was hard for me to separate, this is a load of nonsense, from my head.
Yeah, I think on that depressingly downbeat note, I think we shall move on and we shall talk about our second film of the week, which hopefully we're going to be more enthusiastic about.
Across this nation, the words Gotham City are synonymous with crime. Our streets are overrun, our public officials are helpless. What are you? I'm Batman.
I'm reading your stuff. I'm Vicky Vale.
Vicky Vale, yeah, photographer. What brings you here?
I'm here to see some of the wildlife in Gotham City.
Who are you? Oh, sorry, Bruce Wayne.
And what do you do for a living?
My life is really complex.
Every punk in this town is scared of Batman.
Not for the night time, there is no bat. If there were, we would find him, we would arrest him.
Who is this guy?
Freak. Wait till you get a load of me.
So that's a look at Tim Burton's Batman. It's back in cinemas this week for Batman Day. Who knew that the Cape Crusader needed a day? Well, he does. It's this Saturday. This is one of 3 films that's been re-released in cinemas. We have Batman, we have The Dark Knight, and we have The Joker. Listen to previous episodes of the podcast with Adam on it to talk about how much he loves that film and how many times he's seen it. See back to previous joke. We've mentioned it early in the show. But Joanne, I'm going to come to you first. So I don't think there needs to be that much of a setup. This is Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson, and probably, bar Superman, one of the seminal superhero movies.
Yeah, the hype for this in the 80s, whenever this first came out, was phenomenal. The merchandise you could get, the interest, it brought back the old characters as well from the 66 series. Suddenly Adam West were massively popular and he was doing all sorts of appearances. So yeah, it was very, very exciting that we were going to get a Batman that reflected more of the comics and not the kapow wham Batman that had been in the 60s. So yeah, massively important movie and thoroughly enjoyable.
Rewatching Burton's 89 film, you can see that he's holding just as much of a candle to what Frank Miller did with that film. It's very much Frank Miller inspired in the world that it inhabits. Batman Returns, I do love equally, but it's more the Burton verse and his take on Batman, and there's things I love about that. But I just had forgotten just how much I loved Keaton as not just Batman, because in many ways you can put many people, any actor, almost seemingly, we'll not go into that one, you could put almost any actor, apart from George Clooney, into the cowl and they will look impressive. Keaton's fine in that, but I think where he really shines as Bruce Wayne, and I think you get the sense of the madness behind the eyes. Everyone knows you want to get nuts, let's get nuts. I love that. So Adam, I mean, are you coming into this as someone, it's an older film, 1989, where does this rank for you within Batman on screen?
Well, Batman Forever is always my favourite Batman because that's the one I grew up with. I think I talked before on an episode last season about Batman Returns, and I just didn't really grow up with it. I love Returns more than this, I think, because of the whole Pee Wee Herman of it all and the Penguin and stuff. This is fun. Jack Nicholson kind of just being crazy. is not really a good Joker, I don't think. I think it's because that's the only Joker we had for a long while, apart from Mark Hamill and Cesar Romero. So watching this, I do get a kick out of it, but I kind of watch it under the gaze of it doesn't really feel like Batman to me. There's some fun stuff in it, but by the end of it, I'm kind of not really satisfied on a what I like from Batman level. I like a bit of the camp, you know, even though I love the Nolan stuff, there is a bit of, maybe it's because I've grown up with Forever, I like neon stuff, I like the silliness, I like the villains being odd and kooky, but yet doing disturbing stuff, which is a highlight of Jack Nicholson's performance as the Joker, you know, the whole like makeup stuff, turning somebody into a skeleton, that's all fun. But even growing up with, like, I was a bit older, but it hit at a prime age with Heath Ledger's Joker. In my head, that is just always the Joker. Apart from my Lord and Savior Joaquin Phoenix, who's the best Joker in the world. But yeah, Batman '89, it's not my favourite, but I will see it on Batman Day just to see it on the big screen.
Joanne, coming back to yourself and coming back to talking about what we've mentioned there about Jack Nicholson, where do you rank him? We've talked about Keaton's Batman, but what about Nicholson's Joker?
Yeah, I enjoyed it at the time. It suited that time, but I think what you have to look at is how important that Michael Keaton's Batman was, because it led on to the animated series, and then we did have Mark Hamill as a Joker. And for me, Mark Hamill as a Joker he's the epitome. Every time I read the Joker in a comic or I see him in the cartoon, I expect it to be Mark Hamill's voice. I just thought he was fantastic, and I think the Batman animated series is a major classic. And I'm going to say something a bit contentious here. I did think that Christian Bale always sounded like Officer Cartman to me, so I couldn't take him seriously right from the very moment he uttered his famous lines, and right through to the end. I thought the last film was very poor. I thought they wasted Catwoman in it.
Look, we can agree to disagree. I like the Nolan films. I like the fact that it attempted to ground that franchise in a sense of reality. They kind of lost it on themselves by the time it got to the third one. But Joanne, look, you've triggered me. That's all I can say. I will always leap in to defend Chris Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. We are mentioning Batman Day. As I say, Tim Burton's Batman is back on the big screen for that, as is The Dark Knight. Chris Nolan, what can I say? My boy Chris, if you're watching, I've got your back. You can also, like Adam, you can go see Joker for the upteenth time, but it's not just events in the cinema, Joanne. We've mentioned you're a cosplayer. You're going to be taking part in an event for Batman Day here in Belfast.
Yep, Forbidden Planet are running Batman Day. We should be there from about 12 to 3, so there'll be some Batman, Catwoman, Riddler, a couple of other ones as well, GCPD too.
I'm sure there's many people have seen stranger things running around Ann Street in Belfast than Batman and his various foes. But look, with that, let's move on. We finished on an upbeat note. We were talking about Tim Burton's Batman. Thankfully, we've been much more positive about that than the Nun 2. That's the movies we've discussed this week. Let's have a look at what films we'll be talking about on next week's show.
Detective, you are here to discredit me, but I can talk to the dead.
I'd give all I have to hear my daughter's voice.
If someone wants to be heard, we are here. Listening.
Got your postcard. Hope you meant it when you said wish you were here, because I'm coming to Japan. I was supposed to visit my girlfriend here, and she went and she moved to Thailand.
You're gonna have a great time here. They love blonde.
So that's a look at A Haunting in Venice and Tokyo Pop, which we'll be talking about on next week's show. All that's left for me to do tonight here in the NvTv studio is thank my two guests. So thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Joanne.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back next week with another episode. But for now, until then, goodbye.